Egypt is not done surprising us yet. Archaeologists just recently discovered an entire city buried under the sand, streets, workshops, and bakeries, all dating back to the time of Amenhotep III. It's being called the Lost Golden City. These are incredible recent ancient Egyptian discoveries. In 2021, archaeologists in Egypt uncovered what's being called the Lost Golden City near Luxor. It's believed to date back to the reign of Amenhotep III, around 3,400 years ago. Dr. Zahi Hawass, who led the excavation, called it the largest city ever found in Egypt, and that's pretty cool. The site had been buried under sand for centuries, but when the team started digging, they found well-preserved streets lined with houses, complete with walls up to 10 feet high, and artifacts were everywhere. There were rings, pottery, scarabs, along with evidence of bakeries and workshops. Betsy Bryan, an Egyptologist at Johns Hopkins University, said the discovery was the, quote, second most important archaeological find since the tomb of Tutankhamun. So again, this is very big news. One of the biggest surprises was an inscription referencing the city's original name, the Rise of Aten. It suggests the city was a major hub during Amenhotep III's reign, but was later abandoned, possibly when his son Akhenaten moved the capital to Amarna. Even with all the artifacts and structures uncovered, a huge portion of the city is still buried, and archaeologists are still working to figure out why it was suddenly left behind and what else might be hidden beneath the sand. For years, archaeologists have searched for the final resting place of Pharaoh Thutmose II, and now it looks like they've finally found it. It wasn't some grand statue or gold artifact that tipped them off either, it was a calf. More specifically, the remains of a sacrificed calf buried near the tomb site in Egypt's Theban mountain region. According to Dr. Judith Bunbury from the University of Cambridge, this was an unusual clue. When a tomb is created, all materials imbued with the magic of the pharaohs have to stay with it, she explained. These are placed at respectful distance in guardian pits or foundation deposits, end quote. Most tombs have two deposits, one on each side. Bunbury and her team had uncovered one, and while looking for the second, they hit something unexpected. We found an entrance buried by 1.5 meters of rockfall, with a step going down, then another step, and another, and well, that's not a foundation deposit, she said. The tunnel led them to what turned out to be the last missing tomb of the 18th dynasty kings. Thutmose II's burial site had remained hidden for over 3,500 years, battered by centuries of flooding and collapse. This is the first royal tomb found since King Tut's in 1922. The chamber itself was rough, damaged by floods, full of debris, and partially caved in. But inside, the team found a ceiling painted blue with yellow stars, and on one wall, scenes from the Amduat, a funerary text reserved for royalty. First, they thought it might belong to a queen, but as Piers Litherland of the New Kingdom Research Foundation said, the wide staircase and the large doorway suggested something more important. Well, then came the inscriptions. One began, "Son of Ra, of his body," Thut. Another read, "The perfect god, the lord of the two lands, Akheper." That narrowed it down to either Thutmose I or II, but a final inscription sealed it. A fragment reading, "Great chief wife, his beloved Hatshepsut, may she live." And that confirmed it. Hatshepsut was Thutmose II's wife, so after decades of searching, the last missing royal tomb of Egypt's 18th dynasty is no longer lost. In 2022, something strange was found under the ancient Egyptian city of Taposiris Magna. Archaeologists led by Kathleen Martinez from the University of Santo Domingo were digging beneath a temple when they discovered a massive tunnel carved out of solid sandstone, 13 meters or around 43 feet underground, stretching over 1,300 meters or 4,265 feet. The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities called it a geometric miracle. It's been compared to the Tunnel of Eupalinos, a 6th century BCE aqueduct on the Greek island of Samos, known for being a masterpiece of ancient engineering. Martinez's tunnel is just 1 meter shorter and it's partially underwater. No one knows exactly what it was used for yet. Kathleen Martinez has been searching this area since 2004 though, following her theory that Cleopatra's lost tomb might be nearby. This temple was dedicated to Osiris and Isis, and Cleopatra strongly associated herself with Isis. Figurines of the goddess have been found on site, along with coins with Cleopatra's face. Martinez believes this could be the clue she's been chasing for years. She told reporters, quote, "If there's a 1% chance that the last queen of Egypt could be buried there, it is my duty to search for her." Because of centuries of earthquakes between 320 and 1303, large parts of this area may have collapsed into the Mediterranean Sea, so future work will include underwater exploration. Well, they might just be getting close. After 2 decades of digging, archaeologists have uncovered a burial chamber that hadn't seen the light of day in nearly 4,000 years. The team, led by Professor Joachim Kahl from the Free University of Berlin, discovered the tomb of a woman named Ide, a priestess of the goddess Hathor, a powerful regional governor in ancient Egypt. The discovery was made in Asiut's necropolis, a massive burial ground in central Egypt. Ide's chamber was sitting deep inside her father's enormous tomb, hidden behind a stone wall, about 14 meters down a vertical shaft. While grave robbers had looted the tomb in ancient times, most of Ide's burial goods were still here. The researchers found 2 beautifully decorated coffins, one sitting inside the other, both made of imported wood. The coffins are covered with detailed artwork and inscriptions, far more elaborate than most from the same period. According to the university, the texts on the coffins include religious passages, offering lists, and priestly titles, which may shed new light on how women were seen in ancient Egypt and how knowledge was passed down through families. Also found in the tomb were wooden figurines, a dagger, food offerings, and jars that once held Ide's organs. A massive discovery was just recently made near the area where King Tut's tomb was found. This time, it's a series of tombs and burial shafts that date back around 3,600 years. The find has experts rethinking what they thought they knew about ancient Egyptian history. So the discovery was made by the Zahi Hawass Foundation for Antiquities and Heritage, a group led by famous Egyptologist Zahi Hawass. Take a drink every time you hear his name in this video. His team found a large underground burial site carved into the rock under the ancient city of Luxor, near Queen Hatshepsut's funeral temple. Queen Hatshepsut ruled Egypt from 1479 to 1458 BCE and was one of the first female pharaohs in history. Archaeologists have been working at the site since September of 2022 alongside Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, and the dig finally paid off for them. Inside the newly discovered tombs, they found wooden coffins, including one belonging to a child, along with toys made from clay. There were funerary masks, amulets, archery bows. Hawass says this discovery could reconstruct history, helping researchers better understand how regular people lived, what they believed, and how they were buried. Unlike King Tut, who was buried in a built tomb, these chambers were carved directly into the rock, blending into the landscape. So it turns out, even after 5,000 years locked inside a sarcophagus, Egyptian mummies don't smell as bad as you'd think. In fact, they actually might smell kind of nice. Scientists recently studied 9 ancient mummies and found that their scent could be described as woody, spicy, and sweet. The team says the smells are the result of oils, waxes, and balms used during the mummification process, things that were meant to help the soul pass peacefully into the afterlife. Cecilia Bembebre, one of the researchers, said they're now working on recreating the smell to be featured at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo so that visitors can sniff history. "We want to share the experience we had smelling the mummified bodies," she told the BBC. That's a sentence you just aren't going to hear every day. The team didn't damage the mummies to get the scent. Instead, they inserted this tiny tube into the sarcophagus and used a technique called the gas chromatography to analyze the air. This allowed them to detect the different scent molecules without ever touching the body. The smell doesn't just tell us what perfumes were used, it might also tell us what social class the person belonged to. Fancier ingredients, probably someone more important. Plus, the scents can actually help conservationists figure out if a mummy is starting to decay. Some smells signal the breakdown of animal fats used in embalming, which could mean it's time for a preservation check. So not only are ancient mummies surprisingly fragrant, but the scent might also help keep them around for another few thousand years. In August of 2024, archaeologists digging at the Buto temple in Egypt's Nile Delta came across something pretty amazing. It was the remains of what looks like an ancient astronomical observatory. 26 600 years ago, the Egyptians may have been tracking the stars from this very spot. The discovery was made at the Hill of the Pharaohs, once the religious capital of Lower Egypt. But it turns out people weren't just coming here to light incense and offer prayers, they were also watching the skies and keeping track of them. At the heart of the find was a stone platform built with precise alignment, which would have probably been used to mark stuff like solstices and equinoxes. Next to it, researchers found tools that backed up their theory. One was an ancient timekeeping device used by Egyptian priests called a merkat, which would have been used by astronomers to help track the movement of stars. They also found ritual items, religious statues, and pottery from the 26th dynasty, so it looked like this place was both scientific and sacred. Now, we've always known the ancient Egyptians were obsessed with the stars, but this is the first hard evidence of an actual physical observatory dedicated to that practice. And just when you think the Great Pyramid has given up all its secrets. So in late 2023, a team from Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, working with ground-penetrating radar, found something strange beneath the sands just south of the Great Pyramid of Giza. About 16 feet underground, they picked up signs of hidden cavities, rectangular shapes where no one was expecting them to find anything. The largest anomaly was about 33 feet long and shaped like a corridor or a chamber, and it's just meters away from the pyramid's southern base, right in the shadow of one of the world's most studied monuments. How something this close stayed hidden for so long is kinda nuts on its own. Now, the radar didn't show any golden statues or anything like that, unfortunately, but it did reveal multiple layers of limestone with empty voids underneath. It's pretty obvious that whatever's down there was dug out intentionally. So what could it be? Well, some think it might be a hidden passageway connected to an undiscovered burial shaft, maybe related to the workers or priests who helped maintain the Great Pyramid. Excavation is delicate and they haven't broken through yet, but this find has people pretty excited because the last time radar spotted something suspicious near the pyramid, it led to the discovery of a void inside it in 2017, the first major internal find in decades at that point. Bottom line is, whatever's under there, it's been waiting for over 4,000 years to be found. With all that said, I've been your host James, and I'll catch you, yes you specifically, in the next video.